Good evening. This is Katlego, and I'm a tutor at Tutorvolt. And today we will be doing a presentation on introducing archives and records management. So, what we will be covering in this module is a definition of a record, importance of record as evidence, characteristics of a record management, definition of what record management is, what is involved in record management and archives, and then we'll be doing an activity. So basically, the purpose of this module is to help students to identify what a record is and what an archive is, or what records are and archives are when it comes to documents. And it can actually help you when you are working with documents. It can be in a library, you can be working as an administrator somewhere, anywhere where people maybe might be dealing with database, or might be dealing with paperwork, or might be dealing with any information that needs to be kept and stored, and some information that needs to be distracted, meaning that needs to be destroyed. So this module will actually help you a lot. So we'll actually go through that information later in this module. So first things first, we will be defining what a record is. A definition of a word, record. In the records management field, a record is considered as a document regardless of its form or medium, created or received, maintained, and used by an organization, whether it's public or private, or by an individual. So it can be created by a public institution or private institution, or by an individual. You yourself can just decide to open a business and create a certain record of your business. Maybe you want to create your own record of how, maybe a document of how your business is going. It can be your finances, it can be your financial document, it can be your anything that has to do with business. It can be your financial report, it can be any report that deals with maybe the day-to-day runnings of whatever business that you're doing. And then we will be going to the slide we'll be opening just now. Importance of record. Importance of record is to provide a corporate memory of the organization. It's to formulate a policy. It's to make appropriate decisions. It's to achieve greater efficiency, productivity, and consistency. It's to meet legal. Okay. Sorry, it's to meet legal requirements and regulations. Is to protect the organization's interest and those of its staff and clients. Is to reduce the risk associated with missing evidence of decisions. So when you save your records, you are able to. A simple example can be maybe your business. You've started your own business of selling what can I say? Let's say perfumes. You've started a business of selling perfumes, and now you've kept this record. It's a financial spreadsheet or something to say, okay, so now I have this business, and it has so much and so much of amount, and I've sold so much perfumes, and I've sold 1, 2, 3, 4, and you've written it in writing. It can be in writing or typed. So you actually need to save that evidence because it's needed. Should the company, or should people need that document, at least you now know where you've saved it. Maybe you've saved it under a certain folder on your computer or your laptop, or you probably saved that on a certain file somewhere, you know. Um, right. So now we will be going to record as evidence. Without record, to provide documentary evidence of its activity. No government or organization can be held accountable. So basically, you need to keep your own records. You need to keep your own records of the business that you're running. You need to keep your own records. Let's say in a library, because I've started as I started, I said that this module can help students who work maybe in a library to actually identify books, for example. You know, there's your non-fiction books, there's your fiction books, there's this type of books, there's this types of books. So now with records, with enough sufficient records, at least you can, evidence, sorry, you can at least show proof to say, okay, in the shelf, you've got your history books, you've got your non-fiction books, you've got the fiction books, you've got this type of books, and you've got those type of books. And if you do not have evidence, and if you find that probably in that library they had a Nelson Mandela book or something, and then it got lost, it's not their it's not their responsibility that that evidence got lost in the middle of nowhere. You as an staff member who's actually working there, you are accountable for that book that actually got lost because, well, probably somebody was using it and forgot to return them the book on the shelf, or somebody did return it to the shelf and you actually forgot. You took it and you placed it somewhere, and you actually forgot to put it in a safer place. So evidence is very important because it's kept as record. So accountability is established when evidence can be provided about what an organization knew, when it should have known it, and what action took, and the outcome of its activities. So with all these notes actually help with understanding what records as evidence mean. It means that if you have a certain activity in your department, maybe if you're working and you've got a certain activity that you're busy with, so you need to keep record of of your note. So you need to keep a record of your documents, whether it's on a laptop or on a computer, or you can actually use it, or you can actually keep a record in paper, because sometimes keeping record on your computer, it can be a bit dangerous because you might find that your computer may crash or your laptop may crash and you don't have backup. So records as evidence is very important. And we are now going to go to characteristics of a record. Records created or received by an organization should have the following characteristics. It has to have authentication, which means records must be protected against unauthorized edition, and removal or cancellation and use. So it means your record needs to be protected from it being stolen and some information being added, some unnecessary information being added, or some information that is actually important being deleted, or it can be used somewhere without you actually knowing. And then reliability means that a person should be able to trust the content of the record as a full and accurate representation of the facts contained in it. So when you look at a record, or okay, when you look at a document, it can be your Excel spreadsheet, it can be your document on Word, it can be a PowerPoint presentation, it can be a certain information on the internet. It needs to have reliability. It needs to be reliable. We need to trust it. Don't just look at, for example, let's say in the same business that you've started of selling perfumes, people need to have that trust to say, okay, we actually trust this document that probably this person sold so much and so much of perfumes, or so much and so much of maybe so much and so much of body lotions, So whatever that's written on the document, we need to be able to trust it. Meaning, it needs to also have a a reference. It also needs to have that part of a reference. That's where you actually find when you read your books, especially UNISA study guide, for example. In this case, let's say you're busy with your ARM1501 assignment. It will obviously have your study guide will have a reference to say this is taken on this textbook, page what, because when the when the when the lecturer marks your assignment, they actually need to know where do you take your information, and is it reliable enough? Do we trust this information? It's not the matter of you writing information because, well, you need to write it and you need to pass, but in actual fact, in the information written over there, is it reliable? Is it resourceful? Can we use it? And integrity means that information, sorry, it refers to a record being complete and unaltered. It means that you need to have a record that is actually complete. If you have this record that has a certain information about Nelson Mandela, the information needs to be complete from probably from birth, or if possible from when he started his politic what to when he probably stopped to become the first black South African president, or maybe in the same business of perfume that I'm actually using. If you have this document of where your business started, it needs to have everything. Your business started maybe in 2014, and you got funded by the lottery, maybe, or you got funded by so and so in 2015, and in 2016 your business grew, and in 2017 it probably grew to become where it is today. So it needs to be a complete document that we can actually trust. And usability, record usable if they can be located, retrieved, presented, and interpreted. A record should be identifiable in the context of the broader organization's function and sequence of activities. So basically, a record needs to be usable if it can be located. You cannot tell us about a record as a certain document that you refer to, but is actually you find your branches in Florida North, but the document is actually found in Cape Town. So it needs to be accessible. We need to see it so as we know that, okay, we can use it as well for reference, and we are then going to go to a definition of records management. What record management mean is that records management in essence actually is excuse me. All right. So records management as the field of management responsible for the efficient and systematic control of the creation, recipient, maintenance, use, and disposition of a record. So this includes the processes of capturing and maintaining evidence of and information about business activities and transaction in the form of records. So records management is actually sorry for that. So records management, as I was saying, is the management of how the record has been created and how you maintain the record, how you use the record. If that document is actually meant to stay for 5 years? How do you maintain it? How do you use it? And is it kept neatly so in a nicer environment? And if it get spoiled or destroyed or whatever, do you have an extra copy? And when it comes to the time now, we need to dispose of that document. Do you have the right processes of disposing it? Do you actually check that? Okay, as I dispose the document, I have disposed this document and it doesn't have information that I don't need or I want to need in the future. Meaning you need to check that that document doesn't have relevant information. You need to check if that document doesn't have that relevant information that you might need in the future. For starters, in your business, right? So you've got this document that tells you from 2015 to 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, or 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Let's just say our 5 years ends 2020. So after 2020, if I'm not mistaken, our document needs to be destroyed. So you need to sit down, and here's 2020, right? And in actual fact, 2020 was last year, but let's just say yes, last year you probably had to. Okay, let's just say you're destroying it now. It's 2021. So now you need to sit down. You need to go through the file, or need to go through the document and see that, okay, I need this information. I do not need this information. I need half of the information here, and the other half I need to destroy it. So that's how it works. And record management aims to supply the right information or record to the right person at the right time, and at the least possible cost. So if you supply information or a record to the right person at the right time, even the cost can be very efficient or correct or right. Continuing with defining records management, the controlled creation and receiving of records by by an organization, sorry for that. The efficient management of record, which includes aspects such as arranging of files and adequate storage, the proper disposal of records, which may include the destruction or permanent preservation of valuable record. So you can actually choose to say you can either use the first definition, which means records management is the management responsible for the efficient and systematic control of the creation, recipient, maintenance, use, and disposal of a record. Or you can actually just to cut the long story short, you can use the one next door. You know, you can use between these three um, bullet points. Sorry, you can use between these three bullet points. You can just sit down and see which one can be fine for you to use, which definition will be okay for you to use. So, in conclusion, I would actually like to say that records are they play a very important part in a business. And records can actually be an evidence of maybe how your business started. For example, you can actually refer to your library. In libraries, they've got books. So they've got history books actually. So you can actually see that, okay, in history, that says how the country, for example, maybe went to okay, whatever that apartheid, regime. Excuse me, and then we then skip to where we are after. Post apartheid regime, I believe that's how they call it. Or you can just choose any other book that will actually show you anything you can just choose any book. Maybe you can choose a certain maybe somebody writing about their life or somebody writing about their career or anything, any book will actually show you from the beginning to the end. Or any business book, for example, a business book will actually show you from where the business started to where it is today. So, activity time. So, I chose to give everybody this activity to say, just at your own time, you can just sit down and draft it down, and see your way to go in this activity. So, first question is, the term record has a specific meaning within the context of managing record in organization. Define records within the records management context. So you can just say that records are documents created and they were maintained and they were kept and used, and they are either going to be destroyed or kept for archival purposes, which is something we will actually talk in our next coming lessons. So the first question is that one of describing records within the record management context. And okay, excuse me. The second question is explain the importance of records for an organization. How do records serve as evidence, and study the different definitions of record management and the study unit, and then formulate your own definition. So that is when you then formulate your own definition, that is where you can just create your own nicer definition, and you can actually avoid to try to cram a certain try to cram a certain definition come exam time. At least you can just come up with a simpler way of defining records and records management and every other term that will come across as the lessons go. And we are going to, okay, question 5. It's briefly explain what record management involves. Explain how record management. Okay, basically, question 5 and 6, we are actually going to cut them out because we didn't do them for now. So, that is all for today. Until next time, bye.
Have you had supper already? Hi. Hello.